I'm here with Francis Chileshi from Kasama, Zambia, and Francis works with street children, with orphan children, and so I'm just going to ask you to tell us something about the work that you do, about the people that you work with, and that sort of thing. Can you tell me, first of all, why did you decide to do this kind of thing? What makes you want to be involved in the lives of these orphan children?
Yeah, so one is I think I just have that heart for especially the vulnerable people. What I've found is there are not so many people that might want to help other people come from their terrible situations like poverty and those things. So having seen those things within my town, I decided that one way or the other I try and help the children that are on the streets because their homes are not providing food and those things. Yes, and then there are women that I know that are living with HIV/AIDS that I've known want to kind of support them or help them, within their situations. So I decided I do that. But there's also something that happened to me. When I was young, at some point, I went through the same similar situation where I had no people to help me. So other people came in and, for instance, took me to school. Yeah, they helped me with the needed support at that age, and so on. So after learning from what these people did to me, I felt like the best way that I would appreciate, their effort was for me to help other people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very good. Challenges facing your community right now?
One is, I think, there are a lot of children that have lost their parents. Mm-hmm. And most of these children come from their homes into, for instance, the markets and the shops to beg. And I feel it's not the right way it's supposed to be done. And then there are a lot of divorces, deaths, and so men are dying, leaving their wives, and those wives do not have much to do. So they end up keeping children, but with no means of support, and so as a result, they themselves are involved in sexual activities and getting HIV, and then the children are also at a tender age, getting the same because they have to work in town. Yeah. Mm. Yes, and then there's illiteracy also. Uh-huh. Yeah, so many children are not going to school because they can't be taken to school because their own parents never went to school, so they don't see the importance of education, so they're not really taking them to school.
And so the biggest problems are a lot of AIDS.
Yes.
And children who don't go to school.
Right.
So then they don't go to school. Where you are, do people have to pay money to go to school?
Well, the fortunate thing at the moment is they don't have to pay. The children don't have to pay. Uh-huh. But the problem comes in when you see a child is supposed to go to school, but then they're going hungry because they didn't have food. So some children now are not going to school because they can't. Again, they're hungry. So instead they resort to going into towns and beg from people instead of going to school. So it for those that are managing, it's a good thing because they are able to, But then there are a good number, I know, that are not going to school because they need to go and look for food.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so you've set up a school for children, is that right?
Yes.
So do you... I don't remember. Do you have a feeding program at your school?
Yeah. So to encourage the children, attending school, and also improving, their grades and things like that, we decided to provide, food for the children, and that has helped a lot. That has kept the children in school. Yes, we've seen very good attendance at the moment because they know that they'll go to school, they're going to find food and stay.
So when you have food for children at the schools, the children want to come to school.
Yes, yes.
So that part's good. They learn.
They learn.
But if you didn't have the food at the school, are you saying they would come hungry? They would. What would they have to eat if you didn't have food at the school? I mean, I'm sure there's different situations.
Right.
So,
right.
Are there some who would not have any food?
There are some that would not have food. Like, for instance, when one day we were feeding the children, so as they were lining up to get the food, one child was crying, just a number of them before. She was almost there. She was crying. Then we were wondering why she was crying. So we took her by the side. And the child explained that she wasn't expecting to find food because for 2 days she had not eaten anything. So there are those that totally go without food. And some of them would have a meal a day. Okay, so if they get something over lunch, it means they are not going to have something, in the evening or something like that. Yes, that's usually the case. And that's why the school started. It was to help those children that were just roaming the streets and to bring them, to a place where they know, even if I don't go to beg, I will find some food.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Do you have other children you work with who are not part of the school?
Yes, a lot of them.
A lot of them?
A lot of them.
So what do you do? Tell me about...
So with them, they are maybe in a different community. And in these places we have some children that are living with HIV. They were born with HIV.
Yes.
So we provide supplements for them. For instance, we buy food for them, for the households, because if the child is sick, it means the mother is also sick, and most of these mothers are unable to, provide because they are sick. So we provide them with food. We also help where we are able to afford in terms of medical help.
Yeah.
Yes, and just to be there, to show love to them, so they know there's someone by the side.
So these are all children with HIV you're talking about.
So yes, some of them are have HIV. Others, again, it's those that will be on the street. I don't think the street is the right place for a child.
Right.
So we want to fish them out of the street and probably keep them within the community before they develop interest in school.
How many children do you help this way?
Well,
in a week, in a normal week.
In a normal week, I think sometimes over 100.
Over 100
yes.
children in
because
a normal
at the school we have about 450 children at the moment. And then there are others that we are meeting either in the communities or in within town.
Yes.
Yes, where they are at shopping malls or something like that. I mean, at the supermarkets also. Yes.
I see. And so there's 100 children a week who you buy food for and you buy medicine for and things like that?
Yeah, so like we might not give them medicine every day.
Yes.
But at least we would be there to encourage the mother, encourage the child, just so they feel they have someone around, all right? Because most of them are out there. The only place they think they can find love is on the streets, where they are at risk of so many things. Young people are raped or abused and things like that, like tender age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we try to be there to provide an environment that's
for
safe.
That moral support.
Yes.
How many children do you give food to each week from that?
From how many children? I think for the school we are doing it about 3 times a day. Mm-hmm. I mean 3 times a week.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we've developed to. It used to be once. We started twice a week. Now we aiming at doing it 3 times a week.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And then in the communities, it's always 2 weeks every
Right.
after 2 weeks. We would give them something they use within 2 weeks, and then if we have enough, we get them more.
Tell me about the life of an average of a street child you know. What is their day like? When they wake up every morning on the streets, or where do they live?
I know a few of them that are living within what we call these network service provider booths. Like they do mobile money, so
Right.
yes. So some of them are sleeping within
in the mobile
this-
money booths, like
yes,
phone booths.
yeah,
type booth.
phone booths,
Yes.
more like, yeah. So they will live. So I know some that are living in there.
Yes.
But a good number of them, of course, have places they come from, either staying with the grandmother or
Right.
yes, or
Right.
maybe a single mother,
Right.
or maybe a mother, a widow, or something like that. Yeah. So it's just different types. So the problem is, you see, we've seen a lot of women, especially, or even families that have come from villages where they stayed, they had land and everything else.
Right.
Now they decide to come into town,
Yes.
where they find life to be totally different. Yes, and they don't have means to survive.
Right.
Yes, so that gets them into trouble.
Right.
So either they send the children to go in the to beg for money or food, or maybe themselves get into activities that are illicit that would risk their
Right.
own lives. Yes, and that's why we are seeing a lot of them having AIDS and those things.
Right. So that's where they live. That's where they come from. How do they spend their days?
Most of the times they'll just be right in town. And so
Most of the
they're
things. So what
from morning until when the shops are closed. They're just
Wandering
moving about.
around,
wandering
looking
around.
for money on the streets,
Yes,
or
yes,
begging for money,
begging
or-
from people. Yes, and this time they are known, and you see now they are being so much abused by the people, within, because they are always found. And this time, I know some of them that have even become dangerous.
Yeah.
Because they can't be given money, they are finding other means. So they are either stealing from people or starting to beat people in order to get maybe a phone from them or something
Right.
in the evenings. Yes.
Right, right. So how do you see that changing?
Yeah. So this is where I feel each one of us has something they can do. I want to believe that these children do not know what normal life is. They've just come from troubled lives. Their households, they are abused from homes.
Right.
They are abused on the streets and things like that. So
Right.
I feel that we can try to be there to show them a different life, to show them that there's a normal life where you don't have to risk your life or steal from somebody and those things. And I feel showing them the love, and also instilling, sort of normal life to them might begin to help. For those that we've reached out to, counseled, and things like that, we've seen them stopping being on the street, going back to school, because we've tried to show them the importance of education, for instance, knowing that once they are educated, they can find a job that they can work in order to make money than stealing or just begging from the streets.
Is there anything else that you'd like for the people of Africa Imports to know, or anything else you'd like other people to see or know about the work that you do?
For one is it's just to express my appreciation for the support, because I know that without such support, yes, we would have been there, but we wouldn't have provided food or education and those things. So one, we really want to appreciate the support. We feel like we are doing the right thing because they've come in to help us, and we are motivated and encouraged to continue to do the work. And again, because we've seen positive change, I want to believe that the effort that is put into this isn't really in vain. It's something important because it's bringing transformation in the lives of the children. So we pray that they continue to encourage us the same way. Yeah, because personally, having been helped by somebody, I feel that I can be there to, help.
Yeah.
I also feel that they might not have chance to come, but the way I see it, they are with us, working with us. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Francis, thank you again for talking to us today, and
Sure.
we'll talk to you later.
I'm happy.